Today I'm talking with Yann Skaalen. Yann is a founder with 4 exits, co-owner of a bank, but I'm most interested in his 25 years of experience in advertising and tracking. The reason for that is we've been growing like crazy with AimFox, and it's sometimes challenging to understand where that growth has been coming from, which channels are working, which are not. What do we double down on? What do we lose? Google, Meta, something else? Yann started DigTective, a SaaS that helps you understand your numbers with 100% accuracy so you can get the answers on what's working, what's not. So without further ado, let's dive into the chat. All right. Hi, Yann. So, like I said in the intro, this is basically what happened at AimFox, right? So we know we're growing. We are growing quite fast, but we have quite a bit of challenges of understanding why we're growing. Like we know that whatever we are doing is working. We just don't know exactly which points are working and what's maybe like where are we actually missing some data. So we don't exactly know whether we are tracking the right stuff. We don't know whether the data that we're getting is exactly the right data. Google is telling us one thing, Meta is telling us another. So how can you, like with the experience that you have, how can you help founders, CEOs, marketers help pinpoint what the numbers tell you and like what to double down on and what to maybe get rid of in marketing advertising?
Yeah. First of all, founders don't drown in the lack of data. They drown in the wrong data, and they kind of don't know what to focus on. And with GDPR, cookie consent is gotten really hard tracking accurately. And since we're now talking about the SaaS company, you also have the sales cycles because you have the cookie and it lasts for 90 days. So you have an attribution window on 90 days. So yeah, it's a lot of challenges.
There is a lot of challenges, and I can definitely confirm that we. It's not that we don't have the data. We do have the data. We just don't know whether that data is correct because maybe Google is telling us one thing and Meta is saying like it's working great, but at the other hand, the users who come through our product onboarding, they're not mentioning Meta at all. So Meta is telling us, you're selling like crazy, but the users are saying, hey, I saw your podcast, I saw your webinar, I saw your, Google ad, but I didn't see a Meta ad.
Mm.
So how can you, this is basically what you do, right? So how can you make sure that the data that you're getting from Google and Meta is correct?
Mm.
And like, where does your software come in?
Yeah. So first of all, let's since we started with Meta, let's take that one because this is actually on how you set up Meta, and a lot of
Okay.
people set up the 7 days attribution window. That means if somebody's seen the ad during the last 7 days, well, it will get attributed as a conversion. And then you can say that the last click you got was a Google ad. So the client will actually remember the Google ad, not seeing it on Instagram or on the Facebook. So that's kind of the biggest issue here that both Google and Meta will claim the same transaction.
Got it. And it's being then reported twice. And at the same time, the user is saying, I saw you on Google because that's the basically last thing that they did before going into your software. But in reality, Meta did an assist, so to speak, earlier on that doesn't get basically that doesn't stuck with the users. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and you can say the problem is, when you get a conversion, you have this one, the iOS with the 14.5. So that one throws away all the click IDs, both from Meta and Google. And Google and Meta has their AI to optimize your advertising. So of course they need to see the conversions to optimize for them. But when you don't have the click ID, you can't report the conversion back. And then their AI do the enhanced conversion. And then you have a conversion that maybe goes to an ad that actually doesn't convert. So, and I have to say, one of our biggest clients has 33,000 ads running at any given time. And when you then attribute to the wrong ad, it's yeah, you can see the math. It's just insane.
Got it. So how do you deal with that? Because I know that in one of the posts that I read that you have on LinkedIn, you're saying that essentially Google and Meta is these are the platforms are basically lying to you, right? And this is essentially the same thing that you're saying right now. So how do you deal with that?
With our tool, we solve it, but for you or for most of the advertisers, you have to. So me, for my part, and this is small clients, because bigger numbers, the more correct you can get them, because then you don't have to guess anymore. But if you're a small client and you don't get any conversions on like a PC, and you have somebody said yes to the cookie, well, then you have maybe 30% of the traffic. And if that's 30% is big enough, if you have big enough numbers, then you kind of can trust it and build out of it. But if you're too small, well, that's going to be really hard.
And so this is basically where we are, right? Because right now we're at about 1.5 million. We're closing on 2 million ARR, and it's the problem in that space is that basically our budget, or like how we treat our budget, where we put it is kind of a big deal. Because every dollar matters at this stage, but at the same time we can't trust the data because we simply don't have a big enough sample to be representative, right? And so, like, I saw on your website that you say that DigTective is 100% accurate, right?
Yeah.
So is that true in our case as well? Or how do you if iOS is hiding the clicks, how do you get to that 100% accuracy?
Yeah, it's multiple steps. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you all of them, but I will do the top of it. So I can tell you a little bit about my background. So I'm a co-founder of a bank, and I was running the marketing in a bank. In the bank, you don't get away with guesstimates and guessing figures, and that goes for advertising as well. Uh, so. Uh, yeah, we could actually trust it, the first couple of months, and then GDPR hit. So, and I set out to get 100% accurate figures and track everything. And then it was the cookie consent, and then it was the iOS 14.5. And yeah, I can tell you, it was it was a real struggle, but we got there, and we are here now. But what you need to do is we have an API connection both with Meta and with Google. So we fetch all the data from Meta and Google. The click, when it comes to an iOS, well, you don't have the click ID, but we have our own ID. And since we are GDPR compliant and we're not going after your data, so in a sense, what we are tracking is only the conversion. We're not tracking you. That's really important. So we track all the conversion, 100% accurate, with the source. And if you go to Google and Meta, that's down to the ad ID. So we granulate the data down to the unique ad ID, and then everything falls in place.
Got it. So essentially, you're not tracking the person behind it. You're just tracking basically the behavior of that person, like what clicked, etc.
Not the conversion. So I can be more specific. So we are server side. So you don't have to accept any cookies. If you say no to a cookie, it doesn't matter. We are still there. Our tracking, if you don't convert, well, we don't track you because you didn't convert.
Got it.
But if you convert, well, then you're giving consent because you are converting. And then the client needs your data. And this is where we separate us from the other tracking tools, because in order to be compliant, you need a DPA. So we always have a DPA with all our clients. So we are allowed to see the data, but we don't do that because we changed. So let's say you have like somebody selling something, you have an order ID, a transaction ID. We will hash it, and we will call it a DigTective common ID. and that's going to be our common key for all the discussion. Because with the cookies you have the 90 days. I think the longest sales cycle we have now on a mortgage is 960 days from the
Whoa.
yeah, but they applied for a loan and they've been looking
Yeah.
at houses and houses and houses and houses, and then
Yeah.
find out the 900 something days, well, they bought the house, he got paid out, and it was actually a Google ad. So
Hey, Google Ads sold the house. No, that's really interesting, especially because I am now in the real estate market because we're moving to Italy. So yeah, I can say that like 900 days seems about right. Like we thought last year that it's going to be done in 2025. Now we're hoping that it's going to be 2026.
yeah.
Probably by June I'll be knowing that it will be 2027 or something. But yeah, I can definitely see that because like at AimFox, we have like our conversion windows are relatively short. Like it's most of the purchases are going to happen within a week, almost 100%. Obviously, the user switches devices in that time quite a bit, but like dealing with way longer um, way longer
Sales
buying
cycle.
cycles,
Yeah.
it gets it gets quickly extremely complicated, right? Because for example, I changed my laptop like last week, right? All of the cookies gone, right? So it's a tricky sort of a situation as a marketer because you, on the one hand, you want to be data driven, right? There is no real excuse today to not be data driven. It's 2026. You need data to basically make your decisions. Makes sense. The only problem is what kind of data, like who can you trust? Who can you what can you even do to know that you have the right data when a lot of the different players are telling you different stories, right? Meta something, Google something, and so on. And so, in your opinion, like, how much revenue do you think, in your experience with your clients, maybe, how much revenue do you think companies are spending on unnecessary advertising? So how much is the overspend in a typical company?
I have to do some commercial for my blog here on DigTective. So we actually went through. So when we passed our 1,000,000 conversions, before now we have a lot of data. Let's dig in. Let's see what we find. And our clients are supposed to be really good because they are using our tool. They are stopping the ads real time when it's not working. And we were shocked when we went through the figures. And yeah, the whole report is there. 6.34% of the ads generated revenue, not profitable. 6.34.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So we had John Wanamaker said, yeah, 50% of my money is wasted. I knew which one. Well, and this is 1,000,000 conversions.
Yeah. So a lot of the data actually pointing at that conclusion.
Yeah, but it's still, you have Google ads, you have, one client has 33,000 ads. Of course, they're not making money on all of them. So, and some of the clients are really small, but still it's humongous. So I don't think we ever has set up a client where we didn't find at least 50% ad waste, at least.
Okay. But on average, it's actually like 93.66 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. So
it's not a basic, is it?
No, basically what you're saying is that after this episode, I'll have to have a meeting with my CEO and just say, look, let's just shut everything off. Let's run offline campaigns or something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's a shocking number, like 93%. That's a huge number to be wasted on ads. But I guess that's good news for Google and Meta, right? They need their revenue.
Yeah, but both Google and Meta, they don't do this on purpose. They lie to you, but it's not on purpose. They're trying to help you, and help their AI getting the conversions. But it's much better if you and this is a problem for us as well, because if we have the click ID, we will report back to Google and back to Meta the exact conversion. And then we know that that's the correct number. That's the one we can track. The rest you have to go into our dashboard to find, because we will have them there based on the ad ID. So we had a unique ad ID inside. But no, so yeah. So the lying bit is not on intent. It's just to help you guys, because if you don't have a conversion, well, then you have a problem. And that's also a problem with Meta, because sometimes you have a campaign, an ad that's going really well, but you weren't lucky enough to get one that was with a PC that said yes to the yes to the cookie, and then you kind of have to run it a lot bigger so we get those. It sounds insane, yeah, but it is.
It is insane, but like I think the whole tracking part since GDPR and like the IRS updates has become insane, because we have to sort of predict a lot of what's gonna happen and what's a lot of the human behavior. We have to sort of predict it if what's gonna happen next, but at the other end, you're not basically you can't deal with you don't know what you're dealing with on the other hand, right? There is a lot of talk in AI, for example, about the black box, right? I put something in, I don't know what happens, and I get something back, and I'm happy with it. It doesn't matter whether it's I prompt a LinkedIn post, a landing page, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't want to know what's going on inside the black box, right? Tracking for me is the same thing, right? So on the one hand, like I'm putting money into the system, the Google, the Meta ads, whatever it is. Whatever, I don't know in reality, I don't know what's going on in inside the system. I don't know exactly how the bidding works. I don't know exactly what Google does with my money and my clicks. Are these actual clicks? Are these bots? Who knows, right? But on the other hand, I'm either getting a result or I'm not getting a result. And so, like, in your mind, what's the minimum system that you have to have at least some idea on what's going on in a company, in a let's take SaaS company. So what's the minimum sort of tracking setup that you have to have at least some idea on what's going on in the company, what's going on with your ads, so that you can reduce the 93% ad waste down to 50?
Yeah. So if you go back to, I'm old, so I learned marketing the old way before we had the internet and cookies. So if you're going to do the basic model, I will create like a 52-week spreadsheet telling you what kind of money were we spending on what, and limiting the sources, because I see a lot of founders. So I'm also part of the SaaS Talk founder membership. So, and there we founders speak, openly with each other with our struggles and stuff. And one thing that I see that you tend to try too much at the same time, because you need the money. So you're raising capital, you have raised, you need to raise, you need the figures, you're struggling. So if I may, I will say how I will do it. I will start with Google Ads, small budget, a couple of keywords, making sure I get the correct keywords that is working. Then going into the search terms, eliminating the waste. A little fast story on the keywords. So we have a client with 245 keywords. Google generates 260,000 search terms based on that. How many of those do you think is profitable?
6%.
So you see what I mean? So this is kind of so Google Ads is really complicated. It's really complicated looking at the numbers, because it's so big numbers. It's not a person that can do this, with that kind of big numbers every month. It's too much. It's too much. So, but
So what's yours?
yeah, I would start with the Google Ads, and then I will find the messaging that's working, and then I will go to Meta and the other channels that I want to test. But Google Ads is, you can hear I kind of love Google Ads. So Google Ads is the best place to test a new messaging, and if it resonates there, it resonates all over the place.
100% agree. Do you have a number in mind when you would add Meta as a second channel? At what ad spend, if you have a number?
Depending on the product, you know, and
Okay.
if it's a fit, you know, not everything is a fit for Meta. Not everything works on Google either. So that's your go-to-market strategy. You have to find out the fit, but kind of immediately, as soon as you find a messaging that's
Okay.
working, well, then I will go over and try Meta or the other channels. But I will never run 3, 4, 5 channels at the same time because it gets
No.
too messy. It's too much data.
Yeah. Got it. No, it makes total sense. And there was something you said there that that opened up a bit of a debate, or what, like, something that I wanted to talk about as well. You said no human can do it, right?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, but AI can. Is
Yeah.
that what I heard? Or
Yeah.
okay, so let's talk about, like, how will AI change, tracking and all of that, because we do see, for example, on the advertising side, we do see a huge push by Meta, for example, into AI generated audiences, right? So for example, AI is doing your targeting. You don't have to do anymore. When I was actually working hands on the ads, you still had to um, basically, tell Google that, this person is between this age and this age, and they have this kind of a, median income or whatever, and they like this and they don't like that, whatever. Then came the lookalike audiences.
Mm.
Now Meta is, from what I understand, even lookalike audiences are basically not even needed anymore at a certain stage. If you have enough data, you basically don't need lookalike audiences anymore because we have AI targeting.
Mm.
Essentially, Google, Meta, they have way, way more information than I can have, even on myself and my behaviors, and they can predict what I will like and what I will buy. And obviously, with that comes a much better targeting. So, how does that look like on the tracking side? What will AI change in how we track? Because we're now tracking. We have, like, okay. So first of all, are you using AI in your software?
Of course.
Okay. What for?
Now, so okay, so let's go back. So we started with getting correct numbers. When you have the correct numbers, well, then you get a lot of data. And like I talked about the keywords, the search terms, that's so yeah, we find a lot, wasted ad spend on bad ads. But guess what? We're finding even more on the search terms and the keywords.
Okay.
And we're also finding gold. So but back to the thing that is the most important thing with AI. That is giving the AI the correct numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
if you are happy with giving them 30% accurate numbers and 70% of the numbers are crap, what will come back to you? What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Crap.
yeah. And that's kind of the same thing with Meta and Google because they don't have the correct numbers. And when they don't
Yeah.
have the correct numbers, what do you get? I shouldn't be saying that, but if you give it bad data, you get bad data back. So, and that's GDPR. That's compliance for you.
Got it. Is so essentially, Europeans are more screwed than the US because we have higher privacy standards in Europe with GDPR compared to COPPA in the US, for example.
Yeah, but they
Um,
are coming as well, but maybe slower.
yeah. Okay. Um, So how can AI help you get better numbers? So if then, like, for example, you have to give it the right numbers so that you give the right numbers to Meta, to Google, so that they can give you better results.
Yeah.
How can AI help you get better numbers? And if you have, like, any numbers that you can share, any case studies, I'm obviously more than happy to talk about that as well,
Yeah,
because I'm really interested.
yeah. I prepared one client from. This is from November, and this is the first time we ran the AI on a client to see. So we're just presenting the data, but but since we have so much data and we have Jacob Bronebach working with us, and he really loves his data and AI. So we let him run loose on this one. But they are spending $67,000. This is an American-based client on Google Ads, and we granulated it down to the keywords, and we found that 67% of the keywords, zero attribution. I'm looking at my screen because I have this next to me. The top seller campaign lost $25,345 every month.
So almost a third of the budget.
That's the one they thought they were making the most money on.
Oh, nice. Okay.
No, that's not nice.
Yeah, I mean, not for them. Yeah.
So the ROAS on that campaign was 0.23. Yeah,
not great.
So for every dollar spent, you get
you get 23 cents back.
Yeah,
excellent.
So they kind of stopped that campaign. So
that's a good call.
Yeah, but then we found another campaign with ROAS with 15.79.
Nice.
Guess where the money went?
To the one that was losing a lot of money.
Yeah, and what happened with the profitability?
Oh, it tanked.
Yeah, so happy client. And this is kind of what we see, all the time when we set up a new client. So, it's too much data. It's just too much data and takes too much time.
Got it. And it's interesting. So these were separate campaigns on Google?
No, this is one client.
Yeah, one client, but they had separate campaigns. So, okay, got it.
6 campaigns.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so basically, you're spending. So a typical SaaS company is spending money on 5-6 campaigns. One is extremely profitable but doesn't get enough budget, and then 5 of them are basically losing money. And at the end of the day, we are sitting at a meeting at the end of the quarter or whatever, and we're looking at the results and we're saying, look, we made really good business with this whatever Google Ads, Meta Ads, because we had a ROAS of 1.72, but in reality, there was one campaign that was saving us and 5 campaigns that were basically wasting our money, and that's it.
But the worst thing we see, that's not the ones that you are losing on wasting ad spend. But the worst thing is when you don't, the ones that are really really working, but you have an iOS device or you have another target group, and it doesn't get reported back to Google as conversions, and then you're actually stopping the most profitable campaign you have, and that's the worst thing. And I go into the dashboard once a month looking at the bigger clients, and so often I see that a campaign is stopped by the agency that maybe doesn't have access to it, and then you lose a lot of money, and that's the worst thing, losing out on something that is really good. So it's all about the data. You need correct data.
Okay, and you touched on something here, like the agency is stopping the agency is stopping the ads and so on. So when would you have an in-house team taking care of the advertising versus outsource?
In the beginning.
Okay.
Because you know your tool, and the guy that is in-house, he's also burning for your tool and your company. So, but this is a complicated question, because training a guy on Google Ads, getting in good, it's not many that is really good at it. So that's kind of hard. So there's the agency is good, but if you as a founder have the time to sit down, and now you can use AI, create some ads, create some messaging, finding the keywords, testing it out, because your lingo around it. Agency doesn't do that in the beginning, but you don't have time as a founder. So at some stage, but
no, but you have the option to either hire someone who knows how to do it, pay them, whatever, 5, 8, 10K a month for a retainer, even if it's a partial retainer or whatever it is, versus outsourcing to an agency, right?
Yeah, I kind of would go for a freelancer, because a freelancer you can hire if if he's really good and you like him, yeah, well, you don't have to fire him because he's a freelancer, and some of the freelancers are really good.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. Now, you said a couple of times, I think, in this conversation, like, know your numbers, right?
Yeah.
Giving the right numbers is the most important part of the process. So, how does someone who's listening to you now, how do they know they have the good, like the right numbers? How do they know that they have a good enough overview over the numbers and that the numbers are not lying to them?
It's quite easy. So let's say you have just do a Shopify store, because then you know how many products you sold. Look at how many products you sold, and then you go into your Google account, your Meta account, and your TikTok account, and your Snapchat account, and every account you have, and you add up the figures. So let's say you have 100 sales. Well, probably you're going to have a 300 sales through the due to the double tracking, and well, then you know you don't have the correct numbers. It's quite easy.
Got it. So if it doesn't add up, they're not the right numbers.
Yeah, it's something wrong, and it won't add up. You have first of all, you have the cookie consent, you have the click IDs on the iOS, you have the cookie blockers, you have the ad blockers. It's not going to add up. That's the hard part. But that's fine if you're big enough, because if you're big enough, you can scale the numbers. But if you're small, then it's tougher.
Okay, got it. Understand. You also where are you on the conversation of track everything versus track just what you need, basically? Where are you on that conversation?
No, less is more. Money.
Okay.
So yeah, we will obviously track. Let's say we go back to SaaS. You have a free trial. Of course, you want to know how many signed up for the free trial. Of course, you want to see how many that converts it to a paid subscription. And then you have to choose: do you want the lifetime value, or you just want to give it one value for the advertising? I'm talking about marketing now. So I would kind of stick to that for the advertising and money thing. But still, you have the A/B testing, you have heat maps, you have everything. In the beginning, when you're small, don't touch it. Just go for the money. Make sure that when you put $1 in, you at least get two back. And if you do that, well, you're already scaling. You're growing. Why
True.
complicate it?
What if you can grow faster and go from 1 to 3?
Of course, but that's what you're going to do, because if you get more money back, you're going to put money back in, and yeah, it will scale. And
That's true.
and somebody never gets out of Google because they're making so much money, they don't have time. It's just about finding more money, putting it into Google, and getting more back.
That's exactly exactly what we're doing right now as well, like reinvesting everything in growth. Because Google is just giving us a good return on our investment, and then it's really easy to make that decision. And another thing that speaks to what you just said was, for example, the biggest challenge as a marketer that I had was that setting up tracking for every, obviously, I would want to track pretty much not everything, but pretty much everything that is sensible. So I want to understand, for me as a marketer, to do my job, I need to understand the human behavior inside our software, right? Or before the user comes into our software, and then when they come into our software, and obviously when they convert and they leave as well. And so for that, obviously, I need to have quite a bit of tracking in place. Now, the problem at our stage, for example, at 2 million, is you don't have the dev time to put the tracking on everything. You just the right now features still take a lot of priority, and it's gonna be like that for quite a while. We'll probably be at 10 million before we have any real developers that have their time free to basically do proper tracking of human behavior inside our software.
You see, I'm laughing. Yeah, probably you will never have time to do it because it's so much else. Yeah, but yeah.
It's always, there's always something, isn't it? But at the end of the day, like, what I did need to know and what I managed to set up was exactly what you said, money. So like where are the users that are paying coming from, and how like on which products they spend their money and when do they convert, for example, and stuff like that. And that's I think like absolutely necessary if you want to get that return on investment on Google. I think it's absolutely necessary to know like at least that.
Now, it's just, knowing your numbers, focusing on one channel at a time. Don't go
Yeah.
too broad, because we're talking to founders. Uh, yeah, and the AI is scary if you're feeding it wrong numbers. You need to have the accurate numbers. So they don't need to buy DigTective, all of them, but try to get Google Analytics server side, getting some better numbers. Try to it's hard, but for a founder sitting manual with a spreadsheet with 52 weeks, I really understand that. But getting the numbers, trusting the numbers, that's the most important thing, and especially in the AI times, because the guys that are running the AI now on the numbers with the correct numbers, they are beating the rest of you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
don't be late to the table with getting the right numbers. And I've been working with the correct number for many years, but now is kind of the shift for us as a company as well, because people understand. Oh yeah, now we really need the real numbers, because we get so much extra, bang for the buck.
Got it. So basically AI is the multiplier, and what you fit it in, it multiplies back.
Yeah,
And if you feed it crap, you'll get crap.
yeah.
So you, okay.
So I have to say that DigTective is in a happy place. We signed more clients now the last 3 months than we did since we started. So yeah, and
Because it's getting more and more important.
yeah, and the AI is the driver for it.
Nice. So you have a big component in AI in DigTective.
Now, so what we actually do, we have the correct numbers, and then we download the numbers from Google and Meta. So we put everything in a folder, and then we have our own program, because AI is not that good on math. You kind of get three different answers every time you put the same numbers in. So we have to or this is Jacob, so Jacob should be here to talk about it, and he can sit there for hours talking about it. So next time you have a podcast, bring Jacob. So, but then he brings all the numbers in, and then he has to structure the data, and it's insane. Like I said, you have 260,000 search terms, you have keywords, you have campaigns, you have all the DigTective data. It's a lot of data, and that's why I say that no person can do this. And every time he comes back with a new report, I know it's automated, so now we have it for all our clients every month. But the first time it's just, wow, we found one search term or keyword that nobody saw, lost 60,000 euros a year. Yeah, but it was under the ads. The ads were profitable. Campaign was profitable. I wouldn't have found it. I've been working with Google Ads since it came. I would never have found that keyword. And that was 60,000 euros a year. And that's the AI.
So yeah. So how much of this is just AI, and how much is you with 20 years of experience and know what you're looking for?
I would say having the correct figures, I kind of have always had that. So that makes everything a lot easier. But I would not find, 33,000 ads. No, I couldn't possibly manually go through that. And if you go to a bank, you maybe do this report every quarter, and then it's two-person working 2 weeks presenting a report every third month. And imagine the loss you did the 3 months, in between.
Yeah.
So you're driving a car, looking in the rear window or rear mirror, and that's not a way to drive a car.
Got it. No, makes total sense, and it hits home because I was working last year. I was working with a company in Germany that they do AI sentiment analysis. So basically, every piece of news that's published every day gets through their LLM and filtered into a signal for banks, investors, for the financial sector. and the CEO says basically the same thing, right?
Mm.
Imagine you having to read, like, how many articles do you read every day? One, maybe.
Mm.
And there are 100,000 articles written every day on your industry alone. So how can you do that? Well, AI can. You just need to point it at the right things, right? You just need to point it. Okay, so look here and look for this, and it'll come back with way better results than you can get, and it's going to be in almost real time. So it's the perfect sort of companion. And I can definitely, like, how did you see this? When did that transition started to happen for you as a company, from not an AI company to an AI first, I guess, company?
Mm.
When did that start, and how did that look? Because, for example, in the beginning, I was a skeptic on AI.
Mm.
Now I'm a believer because I've seen it. I've seen what AI can do. I've seen what it has done for me and my clients and so on. So how did that transition happen at your company?
Oh, it was a goal for, I would say, for the last 5 years, I think, getting there. But in the beginning, it wasn't good enough, and it was too complicated, and it was really hard. So I would say, and this is a lot thanks to Jacob, working on this on his own. And so he was my chairman of the board, or he is the chairman of the board in my company. And he was just talking about the AI stuff, and he just wanted to look at my data. And please, Jan, can't we look at your data? And can I now get access to your data? And then he finally got it, and then just wow, and yeah, then I was a believer, because I was also skeptic as well, because it was always adding up the math wrong, so you couldn't trust it. But when
Yeah.
Jacob created the tools to make the whatever spreadsheet, yeah, you should talk to Jacob, but it's insane what it's made. And then you put all the data into the AI, so it doesn't do the calculation, it just looks at the numbers. It's just insane.
It is insane. I completely agree. Um, all right, to finish this up, I have two more things. So, one, do you have a favorite resource, book, podcast, whatever, that you can recommend to someone to follow? And then, as a final question, if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best channel to do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know if you can share
Okay.
my LinkedIn, so just feel free to connect. And DigTective.com is perfect. I would like to add one thing, if I can. Something that I
Absolutely.
see in a lot of organizations when I come in, because you have the marketing department and you have the sales, and that's the two most important things. And when the marketing, gets more conversions, then they expect that sales are going to go up with the same number, the percentage. They need to start talking to each other. I see that so often, that sales get hammered because they get so many good leads, but it's not good leads. So you have to start looking. So a lead is not a lead. Sale is what you're going to look at, not the leads. And please stop hammering the salespeople with bad leads. That's not polite. And to the author or the book, uh, I was thinking long about this, and it has to be April Dunford. Nobody has changed my, no, she's just so obviously awesome, and yeah, read it. Yeah, no, it's sounds like I'm in love, but yeah, with her books and her way of thinking. You know her?
It was the book that basically made me quit my startup and start basically just doing positioning in scale ups. Yeah,
That was cool. That we actually have the same one.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's my favorite. Like, it's my favorite nonfiction book of all time. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, because it just changed on how I see
yeah.
products, and it basically created I basically created my frame. So whenever I joined the company, I first take at the foundations, what's the funnel doing, what are the users experiencing, what are the users experiencing when signing up for competitors, what are they experience when they sign up for our product, and all of that. And basically everything, I look at everything through like a customer's lens. And she was the one, and that book was the one that taught me the importance of context, basically. So with AimFox, when I started in September, we went from 0.35% conversion rate from a website visitor to a paying user. We are now at 2.14%, and it's largely due to having just the mindset in the team of trying to experience the product like a user does, and figuring out what do I need to know in this step so I can take the next step forward and not close the browser, for example. But, well, it has been wonderful, Yann. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me and to share this with my audience as well. And yeah, anyone who wants to get in touch, talk about tracking, talk about DigTective, just reach out to Yann on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, Yann.
Cool. Thank you.